Welcome back to Four Titles, One Truth. Real conversations from two black men who've worn the uniform, raised families, mentored others, and lived life fully. All with a little grit and a lot of humor.
We're here to unpack it all, from leadership and legacy to relationships and real life. And today, we're going to continue talking about where it all started for us.
Yes. Last episode was our introduction. And now we're going to get a little bit more about our military. So if you're new here, I'm Tommy, retired Sergeant Major, 30 years in the Army. I earned every stripe and every scar.
And I'm Lance, retired Colonel, 29 years in the Army. Started in ROTC, led as a nurse, and retired as a full bird.
Yeah.
I know.
Proud of you with your 29 years, boy. That's impressive.
Everybody can't do that extra year.
We're brothers from different branches of the same tree. But today, we're talking about the different paths we took to get to the same finish line.
And trust me, the experiences weren't the same.
Facts.
Let's get into it. All right, Tommy. Why did you choose to join the Army instead of staying a civilian?
That's sort of an easy question for me because once I got out of my stint in college, I went back and I started working construction with the family friends business. We were pouring foundations, and I was just I mean, we met up every day at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then we'd ride to wherever our job was, and then we'd work, and then when it was getting dark, that's when we'd finish the job and end up at home.
Well, you got a taste of the civilian
I got a
life
taste
a little
of
bit,
the nastiness.
Yeah, so.
And so my dad was like, look here, man, you graduated college, high school, you were on your way to college, you went to college, and now what are you doing? And I've said it before, but he always made this comment to me. He was like, you're not going to end up being a slave the rest of your life. He said, I worked too hard for that. So me joining the military, it was honestly, I didn't have anything else to do.
Okay.
And when I talked to that recruiter, it made sense. I was at a standstill in my life already at 19, and he had mentioned before, you know, we as black men, we make a decision to either move forward or we don't make decisions and we end up staying exactly where we are.
Okay.
And I didn't want to stay where I was. Yeah. What about you?
I understand that. So for me, I really made my decision 4 years prior to actually coming on active. Well, then before coming on active duty, whenever I signed that first contract,
right,
as a freshman in ROTC, it was a reserve contract. So I knew that whenever I graduated, that I either could do 4 years active and be
done.
Yeah,
right.
Be done
with that
with
commitment.
It. Yeah,
gotcha.
with that commitment, or do the 8 years reserve, and I know that I didn't want to do the reserve piece of it. So
I wanted
to be if I was going to do it, I was going to be all in, and that was going to be my job, because I was going to be able to do my what I graduated from school from in the Army. So it wasn't going to be where I wasn't getting any experience. I was trying to do something part-time and then come and do something totally different when I came and did my Army time.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, so it was always I always knew that I was going to do active, come on active, and then it was just a matter of how long.
Yeah. You were
am I going to be on active duty? Yeah. How long am I going to stay?
And see, that's another quick difference, right? So me coming right in as enlisted, I had yet to learn my job, and I had yet to experience my job and become confident in my job, because I still had to do basic training, AIT, and then figure out what my unit was doing when I got there, right?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I wasn't fully confident in my job coming in, but I knew what I needed to do, and we had to be certified and get our license and do all of that stuff prior to, but I still didn't. I was learning.
Right.
I was learning whenever I got in, so
Okay.
it was still a learning process.
I'll back off a little bit.
Still
I'll back
learning
off a little
process.
bit.
But I understand what you're saying. You didn't know you didn't know that you were going to be a bomb tech.
That's another conversation. All right. So how did your initial training shape your leadership style, and how did it evolve over time? Your leadership style.
Okay, so I mean, mine was we like again in ROTC. That's where we get our training, and
Right.
it starts gives us that base.
Right.
So
Of knowledge.
of knowledge,
Right.
of knowledge, and like, okay, that's your lead in different situations and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say, first of all, it started off probably just from your upbringing.
Okay.
I think you get some of that stuff from watching your family, or you got uncles or grandfather, whatever. You start learning some of that stuff just by growing up and being around it. But then when you get into the military, or you get in whatever military training, you start getting some of that. Okay, this is the Army, and how you have to try to adapt it and mold it into that. So a lot of our instructors were enlisted cadre.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of our training stuff came from those guys.
Okay.
So you would see some of the officer side of it, but they were really instructing us and teaching us. But a lot of when we get down to like some of our field exercises and things like that, our enlisted guys, our major that we had, they were the ones that were training us and setting us up and so I mean, so mine started off there, getting the base, and then as I got in on active duty and learning being in different jobs and different situations, and being around different folks, because you could be at a small place, you had a small number of people, or you could be at a big place where there's a big number of people.
Right.
So you had to adjust to how you are dealing with folks, and I think that's just with any situation. You adjust to, okay, this is how I need to approach this in order to be successful. So you start looking at what's going to be your base stays the same, I think, but you start looking at different ways that you have to approach it to be successful.
Growth
for the situation, in that situation for that time, and who you have, because I think a lot of folks don't look at maybe they do, the personnel that you have, because a lot of stuff it can change with who you have, because when you look to see who you have, and it's like, okay, this is what I got to do with these jokers that I have. So sometimes you need to be more hands-on, and sometimes you can be a little hands-off, hands off.
Leadership growth right there, because being able to identify that and then adjust yourself.
Yep.
So for me, I will say my core values, like what you said, was developed at home. I did not have to come into the Army and then learn how to uphold the 7 Army values, right? I didn't have to learn about how to be considerate to people. I didn't have to learn how to, give my all for a situation, right? And of course, I'm trying my best to talk about this without listing the 7 Army values, because I know a lot of people expect me to do it, but I ain't doing it right now. And so that's that base that I agree with you there. When it came to me developing my leadership style in the military, I can honestly tell you that it came from arrogance, and it came from my desire to excel. And what I mean by that is I was curious, right? So I'm in a place called the United States Army, but it is defined in regulations, right? Everything is defined in regulations. And so that led me to feel like I had a cheat sheet, right? And so also being enlisted, we had Soldier of the Month board, Soldier of the Quarter, and so forth. And that gave me an opportunity to shine, right? My first squad leader introduced me to the regulations, right? And AIT introduced you to the, yes, they're regulations, but they were manuals on your job, right?
Your
Just
standards.
like manuals on your car.
Yeah, your standards.
I didn't really pay attention to all that stuff. I was an OJT kind of guy when it came to that, right? But when it came to understanding the Army and my desire to seek advancement, it was strictly those regulations were the key. And I think that's what lit the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Then me growing as a soldier and then as a leader, I understood how to combine my core that I left with the home with, the family with the knowledge that I had gained from the military. And I think that's what it continued to evolve until I retired.
It has to.
Yeah.
It has to.
But I think that is what shaped me as a leader, because I've said it before, especially you, that I was a selfish leader in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I had made the rank, but instead of teaching and building and targeting those two, I was lead by example, meaning I'm sitting here maxing out my daggone PT test. Why aren't you? Yeah, let's go do PT, but you better keep up with me instead of me trying to focus on what a soldier's weakness is, right? And then on the job, I'll show you I know what I'm talking about, but it's your turn to catch up, right? And I was selfish. I'll admit it. And talk to any of my old soldiers.
I think on the opposite side, especially if you're in a field unit or whatever, I think you have that same mentality too. Because I can tell you, Terrence, Terrence, has always been a big PT, still doing PT and stuff now and retired. I mean, so Terrence was always trying to get 300 plus, so that was because his soldiers are looking at him.
Absolutely.
To set the example, to set the tone, the pace, the battle rhythm. Yeah. So I hear what you're saying in that direction, and I don't. Yeah, I mean, and it's possible. Well, you showed it's possible to be like that and still excel and grow
and evolve.
Yeah, so
and that's the biggest thing I'd like to take from that. That's my truth, but at the same time, understand the evolution of me to where I completely learned that it's not about me. I completely learned that the only way that I could be successful is if my charge wasn't successful, whether it be squad, platoon, or squad, section, platoon, company, battalion, right? All of that, nothing could be successful unless I poured into them to make sure that they were capable so that we all could be successful. Yeah. It's on you now.
Okay. In what ways did your responsibilities impact your personal life, and how did you manage to balance those two?
My responsibilities impacted my personal life in every way, because back to me being a selfish person. It wasn't just a selfish soldier, selfish leader. I was a selfish person, and it wasn't because I meant to be that way. It's because I didn't understand how to bring people along with me, right? So even with I'll just talk about my family. When I left and joined the Army, the main reason I kept in touch with my family is because my mom always reached out. You know what I'm saying? Or I needed something. It wasn't because I made a concerted effort to call back home, right? And then when I was in relationships, it was, hey, this is what I do, so get on board, or it may not work. And I'm gonna tell you,
you were all in. That's what that sounds like. You were
100%, and it's how I felt I had it to be to be successful. And I needed that in the beginning, and thank God I was smart enough to evolve, or I would have burnt out quickly, because not burnt out because I was tired, but burnt out because they would have probably kicked me out of the Army. And my wife, Nikki, now can tell you, we'd known each other forever. Like, we met way back in 99, right? But to this day, she'll tell you she didn't like me in the beginning. She thought I was she'll say this, she thought I was attractive, but when she got to know me, she didn't like me because she was new to the Army in 99, and she knew that I was always Army. Meaning, our first date, I'm asking her, hey, do you know how to do a function check on your M16? And she's like, what the, and our relationship didn't work. I mean, there were years gaps to where we didn't talk because she knew that I was a rocket ship going somewhere, and she was
Well, she wasn't able to get on board with you.
exactly. I was a rocket ship going one direction that was specifically towards an Army's destination, and she was on a rocket ship about life. You know what I'm saying? So she had a broader understanding. Plus, she came in the military a little later than I did. But I most of my career, I could not balance my personal life and my military life. And until I became a seasoned platoon sergeant, I didn't quite get that I need to get my personal life in check before I can turn around and teach, mentor, and develop.
You got to be able to shut it off. I mean, you got to be able to shut it off.
100%. Yeah. So that was my inability to balance. That is what kept me single so long, and also what kept my soulmate from being able for us to connect so that we could get married and be happy. So
well, you figured it out.
I'm telling you, my truth is I'm thankful that God helped me figure it out.
That's good. You
because on my own I was, and I ain't even a super religious person, but something helped me figure it out, and I believe God's out there.
Good.
But what about you?
Well, I mean, mine I think was a little easier because me and Audrey started. I mean, I was married before I got into the Army, so I knew that it was going to be different responsibility, like especially us being in different specialties and different requirements that we have to for our career progression. Because I mean, luckily for I would say for the officers, we have little trees and charts and tables, and that tries to lay out things that you need to do and where you need to be in your career in order to be successful and get be able to get promoted to the next thing.
Yeah. We do too, but a lot of people don't know about it.
Yeah, so I mean, so for us, for me, the challenge was Audrey and her being medical service corps, they do more need to go into being like company commanders and things like. So she has to go and be in the field a little more to try to check some of those boxes and be successful. And
so she touched it
for her,
way more than you did.
Because for me, I just needed to have a place with OR.
Right.
I was in the ER for a couple of years before I did went to specialize in OR. Okay. And then once I specialized in OR, it was like, okay, as long as they got OR,
good.
A little hospital, big hospital, whatever.
Right.
Field hospital. They had that, then I'm good. So for us, or for me, it was more of trying to not get upset when she's in command. She was in command, and she had a couple of commands, not home till 7, 8 o'clock, and and not getting pissed, because we got by the time we had kids and having to go pick them, I'm the one dropping the kids up and all, but I was still, I mean, I was still pulling, when you're a young nurse, you're pulling all of the calls, you're working all of the crappy shifts, and stuff. So I still had to do that, but I still had to get my mind to accept for my family. I had to take that, but I would still get pissed about that would have us fighting about, and you look back at it now and it's like, that shit was stupid. Why was I getting mad at that dumb shit? It just that piece of it. And then as we got and we really didn't start having problems where we were having to be separated till we got to about the major early colonel stage of our careers because it was like, okay, it's only so many of these positions.
Right.
And it's only so many places you can go for these positions. So that's where we started, because we didn't really get separated where we were not living in the same house till we got later into our career. Till like the last five years or whatever.
Really?
Yeah, because it was like the last 5-6 years is when we was like, okay, I'm up at Fort Hood and she's down here, and then it was I'm back here and she was out in D.C. So we got to spend the last 2 years, the last year of her career before she retired together. But before that, we had been separated for like 5 years.
Wow.
So I mean, but it's like but by that time, we understood. Being older, we understood, and it was like, okay, and we were able to manage it. But in the beginning, I mean, a lot of it is just like trying to figure out what because especially when you're trying, like what you were saying, you're trying to be successful. You got a certain mindset about how you want to be, and that's just, I think, really successful people think that way, and that's where it either you either grow to a point where you can go, okay, I'm going crazy. What you did, I'm going crazy, or you burn yourself out.
Yeah.
You burn yourself out, and you just burn bridges.
Yeah.
More than anything, you burn bridges to people who is like, what happened,
Yeah. No, I get it.
Whether it's friends, families, girlfriend, whatever.
Yeah.
You burn a brick because it's like, I can't deal with your craziness or whatever. So, but yeah, for me, it was just trying to I guess balance out that and understand. Okay, it's two of us. We both, trying to that compromise thing. So just that communication thing was super important for us.
I can admit, going in with somebody, I get how that could absolutely change your focus. I was wide open. I was single in every possible way, So, can you share a moment when your perspective on leadership was either challenged or changed?
That's a difficult question. That's a good question, but that's a difficult question because I'm trying to zero in on one thing or one way. But probably where it changed was probably when I was by the time I got to be like a captain, and that's about the time where you start getting a little bit more leadership. I mean, you're not so much as trying to learn your job or learn your specialty as much as then you start looking at, okay, now I know the job, now I need to learn how to lead and do those things. Was probably when I was a captain and was in charge of an area. And instead of, I was assuming that my folks that were working for me knew what I was talking about when I was telling them, hey, I need you to do such and such, instead of following through and going like, hey,
you mean
do you know how? Yeah,
communication? Yes,
absolutely. So when that, they would come back like, well, you didn't say that, and then it start echoing. Okay, I heard this somewhere in my house, because I hear my wife saying the same thing, So it's like, okay, I need to start communicating better, and explaining things out of what explaining my expectations, managing expectations, and after I did that, it got a lot easier, and I got a lot more feedback from my folks by doing that, and it made things go a lot smoother. Yeah. So, so not being, because I would always think that was being like micromanaging or whatever, but micromanaging I came to understand and learn is a little different than ask, instead of seeking or asking or explaining expectation, managing expectations,
Right.
expectations. So
Micromanaging is a little different than verifying.
yeah, there you go. That's it.
I got it. So
Good question.
I was you finished?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
done. I'm done.
Make
It's you,
sure I
bro.
ain't cutting
It's
you
you.
off. So,
No. But that's what you do anyway. But it's okay.
with you talk, hey, we got a lead. You know what I mean? But so I have one for both, right? And I'm gonna make it quick. So, my perspective on leadership changed, and it's not a quick story, but I'm gonna try to tell it quickly.
Well, tell us so we know.
Okay.
Tell us so we know.
So we were. I was about to deploy my first unit ever to war.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been to war, but never the lead in the war, right? And so we had a train up, of course, because, you get notified a year out that you're going to go.
Yep.
And that was the battle rhythm back then. And also, just for the record, my perspective is 35 years old. I've been out of the military for 4 years, right? And I came in 1991. So I don't want anybody to misunderstand that the way I came up in the Army is not the way people come up in the Army now.
It's different.
Okay.
Buddy.
So, but anyway, we find out we're a year out that you're going, and then you have to figure out your personnel. And everybody knew that my unit was not going to be even 70% due to PCSs, ETSs, and all that good stuff, right? And so we dropped well below that. And so in our last 6 months prior to the deployment, there was a rush to get us soldiers.
I was about to say.
Not a rush to get us qualified soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
And so that meant we pulled from our sister companies in our battalion. That meant, which was, we'd love to have the same MOS, right? Same job. And of course, I was a truck company, and we were going to do convoys. That's what we were going to do. Security and run our own convoys in combat on those roads. And so ideally, we'd want 88s. That's the MOS. Mm-hmm. And people that are qualified on not just driving trucks, all right, and loading trucks, but people who've got combat experience in those trucks. Bottom line is, the people that we could get that fit the ability to deploy with us, it was different MOSs, it was different experience levels, and we also got force fed, which was needed, 2 platoons from basic training AIT directly to us, right? And that's so we could get in the 90%.
Sounds like a setup.
It was, right? But the thing was, I had some core leaders that had deployed with this unit and had run convoys downrange.
Okay.
So I had subject matter experts in the areas that was needed to include the knowledge I had. And going into training my unit and training the replacements that were coming in up until a month prior to deployment, and some that deployed later to get us up. But anyway, that's the life of the military and combat. But initially, it was, we're going to start and we're going to train on how to run convoys in the military. And we're getting these people, and people are scared to death to deploy because the unit that I took to combat, the previous deployment, it was rough, right? They had injuries, they had attacks, they had a lot going on.
A lot of war stories.
Absolutely. And their fog of war experiences was not helping tell the story and getting the incoming soldiers prepared. And so my perspective on leadership changed because for not the first time, but I was becoming more of a listener when it came to leadership and taking in feedback and asking the right questions instead of leading and say, follow, get on,
Being
and
directed,
let's go.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yep. I'm trying to stay away from textbook words, right? But, and my perspective changed when it was a senior leader, subordinate senior leader came to me and just admitted that they were scared, that they don't know if they can go because they had family here. And they did not want to go. And we were going to a destination in Afghanistan to where we were on our own, right? And our higher headquarters was a reserve battalion. And once again, I grew up in the Army. The reservists didn't do a whole lot, right? That changed while I was in the Army to where when the war started after 9/11, the responsibilities became apparent that the reservists and the National Guard needed to have the same levels
right.
because they were going to get force-fed into the fight.
Yep.
So it changed, it evolved, and we're thankful for that.
Yep.
But at that moment, it was, if I hadn't adjusted myself and taken that feedback, then I wouldn't have been able to make the command decision to slow down the training and start at crawl, walk, run, right? And by doing that, confidence grew, and we were successfully, everybody that I took to war, we came back home with.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. And my leadership changed, and this is quicker. My leadership changed from that selfishness to selflessness. That changed when I started to realize that what I mentioned before, that true success in the military comes from the leader's ability to prepare and develop their subordinates so that they become competent and efficient so that they can help accomplish their mission instead of me directing and telling. And then that evolution of me is what helped me become a better leader and absolutely become more successful in my military life and in my personal life.
Okay.
So I'll take that one as well.
Hey,
All right.
I like that. Okay. Hey, okay. How did you adapt your communication style when working with people of different backgrounds and ranks?
That's a real question.
Yes, it is.
Growing up in Middletown, Ohio, when I grew up, it was black and white. It was that simple. Even Hispanic people that I knew were white people, right? Meaning they talked like white people and they were in the white class. And I do not mean that disrespectfully at all, right? Blacks were separated. And so going into the military, I grew up, went to a private school, and then went to public school. So I had the ability to adapt, and I had the ability to fit in and communicate, right? But when you're a leader, making sure that everybody understands the order, and go back to that effective communication, textbook word, but making sure that you have that completely, it absolutely has to deal with cultures, has to deal with races, and it has to deal with gender, right? It absolutely, because we have what we call shorthand when we talk. And if we don't talk in a way that everybody gets the message, then it's ineffective leadership, and that means you're compromising the ability to accomplish any mission. And so I adapted by, every time I talked, trying to bring everybody to the Army standard of talking, Army standard of understanding, and teaching everybody, hey, we have these regulations, we have these orders, and you have to understand how to read them, and you have to understand how to absorb it, and you have to have to understand how to execute, right?
Yeah.
In the Army language. And so that meant while I'm building these different backgrounds up and these different ranks up, that means I have to use whatever shorthand is needed to get them to understand what the Army language is so that we can all have the same conversation. So that was my understanding of how to adapt, first understanding the differences and then trying to teach everybody the Army language so that we're all on the same sheet of music.
Okay. I mean, I agree with that. I mean, mine is pretty similar to that. I mean, it's because I can tell you, like, as I went on through my career, and I mean, I start understanding and learning mission, what's the mission and how to follow that, and the vision and those things like that, so that I could be able to communicate that to the staff or to the personnel. Is like, this is why we're doing this, or this is why we need to do this.
Right.
And you have to, I mean, depending on who you're talking to, whether it's white, black, Asian, I mean, just in just different parts of the country where people are coming from and things like that, you have to be able to recognize that and be able to communicate in a way so that they understand. So I would always try to make sure people understood what I was saying to them, so that they could get on. I mean, because either you get on board or you don't, but you're going to know why we're doing something.
Right.
And if you're not going to get on board with it, then you know why.
Right.
Whatever action is going to be taken to either help you get on board with it or relocate to someplace, relocate someplace else. So, and I know for me growing up, I'm in the Midwest, so we had white and black and stuff. But then when I went to school, I was out in D.C. where everybody's, I mean, everybody and anybody's out there. And then we have to do a summer camp in ROTC where we're with cadets and stuff from all over the country. So you see everybody and everything there. So for me being a black male in a predominantly female white
job
career, I had to learn that piece of how I'm speaking to folks, whether it's a female, white, so that people understood what I was saying and not slang it up for. Because I knew who I could slang it up for that would know exactly what I was saying. And then people who was like, okay, nope, have to be able to communicate it in this way so that they understand. So just being able to, I'm gonna say it's reading people, but know who your audience is, and being able to grab the right words to convey the mission, what you need them to do. Clearly. So I mean, everything was mission is I don't think folks understand how important being able to know what that mission is and convey it to explain it to your folks who you're in charge of.
I saw a major moment. You have to identify the finish line if you want your people to be successful. You have to.
That's a good one.
Another thing is basic training. I forgot to mention that. Basic training was my first potluck of people.
Okay.
That's when I met the New Yorkers. That's when I met the Hispanics. That's when I met the different black people. That's when I met the country people. That's when I think
a lot of that, especially in the Army, because you're getting people from everywhere in the country, and that's it. You could have black and white folks that act the damn same because they're from the same area. So I mean that's a huge, I mean, and that's what I think I got to see a lot of that also while I was in school. In DC, because we had kids from all over. You'd be like, what are you? What are you talking about? So yep.
All right. So last question. Reflecting on your career, your 29 years.
29 and proud.
I know a lot of people hate the word legacy, right? But it's a legitimate thing when you've been successful in a field, right? So what legacy do you hope you left, and how do you live by those values today?
Well, I hope I was. Well, I think I was, and I pretty much know I was fair. I was honest with folks, and just, a hard worker, meaning that cared, somebody that actually gave a damn. Because I felt like I gave a damn, and if I probably could have done 30 if I didn't give a damn. But it was the stress and some of the other things were beating up my health. So,
I get that.
but just somebody who cared, gave damn, who people could come and talk to, hey, let's go, we can do this together. I was a team player. Yep.
Yeah. So mine is, and I had to think about this one, because when you think of legacy, right, it's a huge word, but that if you don't paint it as such a large picture, then it'll make a whole lot more sense, right? Because when I think of legacy, I think, will I be defined as the best in something? Right?
It's stuff that,
and that's painting the legacy picture way too big.
Or being the first to,
something like that.
because that's,
And so when I define legacy for myself, it's how will I be remembered, right? Because of the efforts that I put into something. Doesn't matter if you're the best, the number one rated, whatever, right? When you're finished with that job. So my legacy is, hopefully, it is that the people who have served with me can see the growth that I had over the decades. And then secondly, but primarily, all right, I hope that people understand that no matter what, I did what I led the way I led because I wanted people to see that there are consequences for positive actions as well as negative actions.
Okay.
And that's what I hope my legacy is.
Okay.
All right. So that's it for today's conversation. Yeah, we went a little deep. We talked about the enlisted and officer life. And we didn't do an enlisted versus officer. We can talk about that later. But we basically explained how our path and how our answers to these questions, they're sometimes drastically different, but they're also a lot of times the exact same.
Yep.
Yeah. Because we've traveled two different roads, but it was the same mission: to serve, lead, and survive.
And we hope this helps people see that while the uniforms look the same, the journey felt different.
Yeah. Mine probably fit a little better. I was jacked and all that. But keep listening. This is just the beginning. And hit us up. We really want to know your thoughts and your feedback and your stories, because we would love to either bring the shared experiences to the podcast, or we'd like to have answers that maybe we didn't know that we could help.
Hear what y'all are thinking.
Absolutely.
Yep. So thanks for stepping into 4 titles, 1 truth, and we'll see y'all next time.
Absolutely.
All right.